Hello, everyone, and welcome to
The Movie House.
Today we're going to talk to you about a movie from 1986 called The Fly, starring Jeff Goldblum and Gina Davis. Here's the DVD from our personal collection, which I bought years ago. And it was, must have been an early print because it has this slip cover on it, which I learned recently means it's an early print of the DVD, which makes it more valuable, I guess, if you're a collector. So that's good to know. That's good to know. But I just recently took the plastic off, opened it up, and watched it. Elaine's not into this movie. It's too much for her. But I really like it. It is rated R. It is extremely violent. There is a lot of sexual situations in it. But the story at its core just is one that once you see it, you can't forget it. It kind of gets a hold of you. It's a story of a man who has motion sickness. He's a brilliant scientist. And he's trying to develop a way of
Porting, right?
traveling, right?
Yeah.
Without having to be in a car, a plane,
Teleporting.
or a boat.
It's like teleporting.
Right. So he creates these teleportation pods that can send an item from one location to another. And all it can do, though, is inanimate objects. He's trying to figure out how to make it work with living tissue. And Gina Davis is a reporter. Of course, Jeff Goldblum is the scientist. Gina Davis is a reporter, and they develop this relationship, which I actually thought develops way too quickly. I haven't seen this for like 40 years. And so I was surprised at how quickly they fall into bed together. But it was the 80s, so maybe that was part of it. And they developed this sexual relationship as well as a personal relationship and professional relationship. She's documenting his work. And he gets upset and goes through, without her knowing it, to test it on himself for the first time. And unbeknownst to him, there's a fly in the portal with him. And it goes through and he comes out the other side. And it's based on a movie from the 50s called The Fly.
Yeah, which I've seen.
With Vincent Price, which is also a good movie. I saw it once years and years ago.
Yeah.
But this is, it's got better special effects, obviously. And it's more of a examination. I was reading, this is not coming from me. I read this. But it really, when you know this, it really makes a lot of sense. It's really a look at the human condition from the idea of how we are constantly changing, particularly as we age. We are changing all the time, and it can be a very off-putting process when you look at it. And when you throw in the idea of diseases like cancer and other things that come upon people in their lives and causes dramatic changes, this is kind of an allegory for that whole experience. In fact, I read that the producers and so forth used studies that they'd done with people with cancer patients and what things they had written about what they were feeling and what they were going through, and they used it in this story for what Seth Brundle, Jeff Goldblum's character, goes through and how he deals with his changes emotionally and mentally and physically. And so Jeff Goldblum's performance is really excellent. Again, you can look at it, enjoy it just as a monster movie. You can enjoy it on that level, and it works.
But there's so much more to it.
There is so much more to it as
philosophy.
well.
There's philosophy to it.
There is. And the way he portrays this character, it just makes you care about him so much. It just breaks your heart rather than, it scares you, but it also just breaks your heart. And what else can you ask for, in my opinion? So again, it's not her cup of tea, but it is.
It's a guy movie.
It's a guy movie.
Well, this one in our home, it's
Yeah.
definitely just a guy movie.
And like it says on back here, be afraid, be very afraid. It's scary.
Yeah, and I like what you told, not to jump in, but
Sure.
How you said Jeff Goldblum and Gina Davis got the parts, because I thought they met on the set, but they were actually dating before they did this movie.
Yes, they were. They met on either Transylvania 5000 or Earth Girls Are Easy. I forget which one it was. So they were already in a relationship when this movie went into production, and Jeff Goldblum was cast as Seth Brundle, which the studio said to the producers that that's a mistake. This guy's not right for this part. But they said to the head guy, but hey, it's your mistake to make. So go ahead, cast him. And of course, it was a good choice. And yeah, Gina Davis had to audition, and she was the first actress they read for this part. And after she read, they were like, wow, she's great. Let's just hire her. And other people were like, well, wait a second. We've only read one actress. Let's read some other people. And so they did. They went through a bunch of other actresses, and they ended up coming back to Gina Davis because she was the best one.
And he recommended her, right?
And he had recommended her, right.
So Jeff Goldblum, her boyfriend, recommended her, which
right.
usually that doesn't work.
Yeah, it's usually
like,
not a good idea.
Do we have to do this?
Yeah,
But
and I believe they actually
did.
ended up getting married and then divorced, but
Yeah,
that's Hollywood for you.
Unfortunate.
But she's also very good in this.
Mm-hmm.
She won an Oscar a couple of years later, for The Accidental Tourist. But so she's a good actress, and she does a really, really good job. I mean, golly, at towards the end of this movie, you could just look at her, and she looks like she's really gone through some stuff.
Yeah.
And so it's a really, really well done. It's got some nasty special effects. It's got some nasty sexual
Graphic.
situations. Not overly graphic, but more than I
Yeah.
is necessary. But it's part because they apparently got criticized at the time too, that they were making an allegory for AIDS, which had come on the scene
Right.
in the 80s, and they got criticized for saying, well, you're talking about AIDS in this movie because there's a lot of sex going on, and the director and all the other people denied that was entered into the thinking at all. It was more about what I was talking about earlier. But again, you can take this a lot of different ways. So hey, if you want to see it that way, I guess you could. But anyway, so it's a highly recommended for its lofty aspirations. Not so recommended for some of its execution and elements. But hey, if you're adult, make up your own mind. Because don't be scared, but be afraid. Be very afraid.
Be very afraid.
Okay, so that's it for The Fly. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.
Bye.